this year. Again, we talked about it last night. Spencer Hyde, a star, was born here a year ago. We'll see if we can birth another star this evening here in Q5, actually. Let's talk about that. We added a session of Pro Mod, which I think, like we talked about last night, was 64 of the best Pro Mods in the world on the property. Why not have a fifth qualifier?
No question. And last night's show was star-studded and saw some of the best runs we've ever seen at this facility, including Mark Mickey dipping his way into the 350 range for the first time in the World Series of Pro Mods history at this facility at Bradenton Motorsports Park. We have a pair of great pit reporters here with us this week, and they're bringing you all the action from the top end to the staging lanes and in the pits as well. Let's send it down to the starting line with Don O'Neill and the Queen of Flow, Courtney Enders.
We are back for the World Series of Pro Mod. Thanks for the intro, guys. I've got my buddy here, Don O'Neill. I'm going to be sweet on you today. I'm not going to be hard on you today because these guys and gals are going to be the ones being hard on each other. First things that I want to do is talk about the schedule. We're planning on a normal day today. Yesterday was a bit wonky, but we've got Pro Mod in the lanes right now. We're going to run them at 2:30 and 5:30. Then we're going to go into the chip draw tonight, which we'll get into in a minute. But let's talk again about Pro Mod last night. Mark Mickey, no, he didn't make the lick that he wanted, but he's still the man on top.
Oh, absolutely, and he'll go ahead and get the lick that he wanted later on today. But right now, all I'm really concerned about is the fact you got a Hall of Famer that's on the outside in Ricky Smith. You've got Melanie Salemi, who didn't qualify last year but won the Chicago style, has done well at Snowbirds US Street. She's on the outside. And, oh, yeah, my dark horse, Garrick Ward. There's just way too many that are on the outside that totally should be on the inside, including Fletcher Cox and Nova Joe.
But again, I feel like a broken record here, but we know the deal with Pro Mod. Actually, all the classes, but we're talking Pro Mod right now. It does not matter where they're sitting on this deal as long as they get in. When we have the chip draw later tonight, which you guys and gals are going to be able to see on FloRacing live from the starting line, all they got to do is get in today.
Well, that's always true, right? They have to get in, but they also have to be able to compile the data from the weather conditions and the track conditions that's being presented to them. So when you go in, you get those conditions or the track and you don't get down, you can't go back and pull that run as you go through eliminations. So you start to lose a little bit of the confidence level. And unless you're somebody that's definitely got a confidence in a buttload of it, and Melanie Salemi, this might not be her weekend.
It could be. I feel like we could talk about this all day long. Things are going to shake up wildly. Moving on into Pro Stock. I say this all the time, but one of the tightest classes ever. Pro Mod's giving it a run for its money this weekend with the quickest, with a 67-1, but 11 cars within a tenth of each other. Like, that's the Pro Stock we love.
Oh, absolutely. And there's a bunch of those guys that the fans are getting to see that they're going to see all year long in PDRA competition. They're getting their feet wet. They're testing. Obviously, they've got some events with NHRA. You're going to see them start to pick up. I think today you'll start to see a little bit more movement. It's really sticky out here, and you can't burn water, so we'll see how much they improve.
I called it the Butner Bumpers. We got Bo sitting on top, Randy Lynn in the number 16 spot. But I can imagine, put a new clutch in that thing last night. Your girl's going to get in some decent runs today. But chip draw tonight before we wrap this up and let the guys and gals get on the racetrack. Chip draw, it is going to be amazing. The intensity, I don't know if you guys can feel it at home, but we want to build it up for you. You come up to the starting line, you have no idea. It does not matter how well you run. It does not matter if Mark Mickey's sitting on top and whoever it may be on the bump. Every guy and gal for themselves, and a surprise of who we're going to run.
Wouldn't it be cool if we had number 1 and number 2 draw each other on qualifying from that aspect? Or better yet, how about Mark Mickey and then Todd Moyer? Like, Turbo Todd. I mean, the opportunities are there. Or maybe even somebody like Todd Tutterow and Stevie Fast Jackson lining up. Or maybe even a guy named Brandon Pesz who got his race car back together, and he's back here in the staging lanes. He's got 2 shots to get in. The storylines are unlimited. It is exciting. It's a great day to be a drag racing fan.
I was just going to say, the one to watch here, Brandon Pesz is going to be first up. We literally saw his car being unloaded off of a flatbed this morning into their trailer. See if they can't get it on the boys from Texas. You know I love that. But guys and gals, we are about to go Pro Mod racing. Sit tight, enjoy your Saturday. There's going to be so much action, and we will come to you again after this round of some top-end interviews and see who ended up on top and who ended up outside.
All right, Courtney, Don, thank you very much. Can't wait to see what you bring us from the pit here today. Track prep for qualifying session number 4, Pro Modified. Finishing up, you can see the cars making their way to the staging lanes, and we'll have the first session of Saturday coming your way next.
Winning doesn't just happen. You have to engineer it. You have to test it and make it better than it was the last time. Our engineers have the passion to create the parts you need, the way you need them to be, again and again and again. We've led this game for over 40 years, and we design, refine, and perfect every valve-train part worthy of the winner's circle.
Unleash your engine with Adrenaline Racing Oil's 100% PAO-based oil. The Adrenaline R Series is designed to unlock extra horsepower, free up your engine to perform its best. Top-performing oils with FR3 nanocarbon technology, the same friction reducer used by top racers, designed for any engine. Lab-formulated, dyno-tested, track-proven. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
We drive tech. We drive the industry. Going beyond the limits and advancing forward. A versatile all-in-one solution. We're here for you every step of the way. And that's why you see Fuel Tech everywhere.
Back at Bradenton Motorsports Park as the rotators are on the track, and we are just minutes away from qualifying session number 4 of Pro Modified here at the Drag Illustrated World Series of Pro Mod, presented by J&A Services and Johnson's Horse-Powered Garage. 64 cars that have already made an attempt at this track. You heard Don mention we're going to get 65th out of the gates with Green and Pesz. Some of the best, most accomplished racers in the history of Pro Modified are on the outside looking in at this incredibly quick 3.671 bump spot right now. And Don O'Neill had a chance to catch up with one of those racers still looking to fight her way into the field at the Fast 32 cars, Melanie Salemi.
Don O'Neill, Flow Drag Racing, hanging out with Melanie Salemi, our Chicago-style shootout winner from 2023. But Melanie, that's great. It was history. And after your past few days, I'm pretty sure that would be history for you. What the hell is going on over here?
We had some parts failure, and we thought it was one thing, and it turned out to be something else. So last night, John just kind of had to give it his best shot because we knew that we had our power back, and unfortunately, he overshot it a little bit. So as good of a tuner as he is, sometimes there's a human element, and it is what it is. I don't have any doubt that today will be fine, because as soon as I downloaded the run last night and he sat behind the computer for like 3 seconds, he goes, oh, we'll be fine. So I think today you'll see some differences come out of this camp, and you know, even if we go out there on the first run and it's not exactly what we want, we can come back again and give it our best shot tonight.
Okay, so let's talk about that thought process. Okay, so like, are you legitimately solid in that thought process, or are you kind of selling it to yourself? Like, I mean, come on, I'm a race car guy, and you just go out and you knock the tires off in the first 60 feet. You got one more session, and you're going, I need to get down. Well, wait a minute, I can't just get down. I gotta get down.
I have full confidence in every single person that works on this team. Eddie, Jim, Evan, Katie, and John. And me as a driver, I'm pretty confident behind the wheel, so we will do absolutely everything that we possibly can to get this car down the racetrack as fast as possible and hopefully be in the top half of the field, if not in the top 3. So I have 100% confidence that we can do it, and if for some reason it doesn't happen, I have to go with it wasn't meant to be, and we will get to race this car again at the next race. That is not going to happen. I can almost 100% guarantee you that is not going to happen. So we'll go into the 4th round of qualifying as the first pair on a single, and as far as I'm concerned, I think that might give us the best racetrack this morning.
Okay, so let's go with that thought process, because when I got the pairing sheet early this morning, I looked at it and said, okay, if I was sitting down to play poker, I think I just got my river card dealt to me.
Absolutely. Typically, what we've noticed on this racetrack this weekend is as more cars have been going down it during the session, it's gotten a little bit, I don't want to say
iffy,
worse, but
ass,
yeah,
slick,
it's
greasy.
It's not been as tight as it is in the beginning. So hopefully that continues to be the progression, and we get the best racetrack that anybody's going to have.
How did it feel to watch a car that's out of your camp, like 4 runs, and he's top 4, top 5, top 6, like we're talking about Steve King. I mean, and your family, they put it together.
Yeah, absolutely. We built that car in-house, and we just actually redid the whole entire car. Evan stripped all the old wiring out of it and redid it, and it's a testament to what we actually do. So obviously we were struggling with mine with some parts that weren't right, and we know that we have the combination to go down because obviously John's tuning that car, and it's everything that we have in this car. So the only difference between that team and our team is the driver.
Didn't sound like a sales job to me. Melanie sounds pretty confident with her and her whole entire, not just team, family that's over here giving her a car. Q4 World Series of Pro Mod coming up. Stay tuned. See if she gets it done.
Well, it'd be hard to bet against Melanie Salemi and John and that team, Mike. Not only last year did they come out on Sunday in the Chicago format race and kind of run roughshod everybody, but they parlayed that into yet another great season over in their series, and Melanie Salemi is always a contender anywhere that she shows up. Was great in testing this week, and you heard them talk about it. They just kind of had some things bite them. Not all that dissimilar to last year in qualifying.
Yeah, exactly. That's my first thought listening to that interview is Melanie Salemi's in much the same situation she was a year ago. We know that when they get that car right, get that power to the ground, that they can go right to the top of the sheet. But they find themselves going into, fortunately for them, two more shots today, still not in the field. They're not far off, though, currently sitting 36th. We'll see if they can get it together today. And second, or you can call it Chicago-style shootout, second chance race, whatever you want to say. Certainly a cool deal that we do here at the World Series of Pro Mod for our non-qualifiers, but that's not where that team wants to be. They want to be right at the top of the sheet competing for the $100,000 check.
Let's explain the Chicago-style or second chance race, as you call it, event to those who are tuning in on Flo, who are watching, who maybe didn't watch the World Series of Pro Mod last year or have no idea what we're talking about when it comes to a Chicago-style event and a second chance race. What is the situation? Who's eligible? How does it work?
It's going to be our 16 quickest non-qualifiers. So we do this. We actually, with the sponsorship money that we generate, we decide to go ahead and allocate $10,000 of that to the winner of our Chicago-style shootout. So it gives, when you've got 64 of the best pro mods in the world on the property, you don't want to send that many cars home empty-handed. So we've got this Chicago shootout. It's a cool deal. We'll run the 16 quickest non-qualifiers, then the 2 quickest from that first round will come back for a standard elimination run. And those guys will get the check, get appearance in the winner's circle, photos and everything. Again, but it's a little bit bittersweet. And actually last year, as we see Spencer Hyde here, his poster on the screen, fellow Canadian, also shared they kind of shared the winner's circle, shared a moment there. Melanie and Spencer did. They go way back. But that's not where Melanie wants to be.
And to clarify, it's the 16 cars, first 16 that don't qualify, and we're going to turn around and put the 2 quickest winners of their matchups. So if you're the second quickest car but you lose, it doesn't matter. You still have to win your matchup to have that opportunity to race for $10,000.
It's a traditional Chicago-style shootout.
Right. Here's a look at the quick cars so far as we head into qualifying session number 4. And look at the different power adders just right off the top there. Mark Mickey, turbo car. Jim Halsey, Daddy Shark, nitrous car. Jason Harris, supercharged. Eric Gustafson, supercharged. There's Pro Charger cars on this list. Marcus Burt made that great run at the end of the night last night as well. A really diverse collection of racers here, too. There's PDRA stars. There's Midwest stars on this list. There's Outlaw stars like Jason Scruggs on this list. Stevie Fast is coming off a win at Lights Out last week with a small tire. Put a big tire on that car, and it's right back into the mix here as well.
We're very proud of this field after only 3 qualifying sessions. Like we talked about last night, creating a rule package to run all these different combinations together is one of the most challenging parts of putting this race together. And to see 4 different power adders in the top 4 just speaks to the parity that we've created with this event. We had this also last year, and it's really a part of the secret sauce to make this event successful. When you've got this many cars, competing for this amount of money, you have to have parity.
Drag Illustrated's Wes Buck is addressing the crowd right now. Let's see what he has to say.
Let's give it up. All my crew guys, all these drivers standing around. We ain't doing this without you guys, so thank you. And I need a favor. I don't ask much, all right? And I want to say we're probably going to have some long lines today. We're probably going to have some parking snafus. If you're mad, be mad at me. I'm sorry. We're doing our level best. This thing, I want to tell you guys, thank you. Our ticket sales already up 22% over last year. That's you guys showing these guys that Pro Modified is the universal language of drag racing. This is the great American motorsport right here. The best thing that can happen at a NASCAR race, the best thing is a drag race breakout. 2 cars come out of that final turn side by side headed toward the checker. The best thing that can happen at a Formula One race is a drag race breakout. And we get to do it every weekend. We've got to be more proud of what we represent to this industry and to the entire motorsports world. So guys, I need your help. My guys will perform better for you if they know you appreciate it, all right? I'm gonna ask you to get up on your feet, give these guys some applause, let them know you care, let them know you mean it. If you see one of these guys break that number, if they go 66, make sure they know you care, right? Make sure you know that you appreciate it. All right? So let's go drag racing. DJ, Laney, turn it up. Come on. Let's burn this thing down.
And with that, we fire the first pair.
No better hype man in drag racing than Wes Buck.
I've dubbed him the televangelist of drag racing.
That is very fitting.
Nick Janik and Green and Pesz is how we're going to kick things off here on a Saturday at Bradenton Motorsports Park. It is a pretty nice day for what we were expecting. We had that extra session yesterday. Frankly, Mother Nature didn't look very promising when that decision was made. But right now, it's 80 degrees outside. The relative humidity is actually down from yesterday. The water grains are way up, 97. The barometer sits at 30.1, 1,900 feet of density altitude. A lot of similarities to what they ran in yesterday, Mike, with the exception of there's a little bit more water in the air. That may lead to an advantage specifically for the Nitrous combination race cars as we work through this. But we're going to kick things off with a couple of supercharged cars. And Green and Pesz, the headhunter machine, you're looking at him right there, PJS Racing. They built the motors for a lot of the cars out here, making his first run of qualifying. They actually broke the frame rail in that Corvette car on Thursday in testing. Took the car off property yesterday. Were able to get it fixed up, welded, and put back together. So this is going to be Brandon's first shot at the track. Meanwhile, the Red Line Oil Machine, Nick Janik, his new wife, Taylor, stands right in front of that race car. The only car with a pedal clutch in it still here this weekend.
Yeah, and that's going to be tricky today. We do have an overcast sky, which I think is going to help keep the track in check. Really awesome to see Brandon get this car repaired and get it back out here. However, again, like you said, the water grains in the air, that does not favor the screw-blown combination. We'll see if he can make up for that disadvantage here today. Nick
Janik has yet to get down this racetrack. Green and Pesz has yet to make an attempt officially in qualifying. If you want to be in the field right now, Kevin Ryenbark's the bump at a 367, and we're underway on Saturday at the World Series of Pro Mod. Green and Pesz comes out swinging 371, 206 miles per hour. That's not good enough to put him in, but I got to tell you, see his wife Kimmy there coming off the racetrack. The first run on that car, after breaking it 2 days ago, he knows he's going to get another shot tonight. I think 371 is a great start for Green and Pesz. It gives them something to work with going into final qualifying.
Yeah, that was a smart play there. Get down the track, carried the wheels, looked really nice and settled all the way down through there. 371, almost 207 out the back door.
Nick Janik makes his best run of the weekend as well. And here we go with our first real heavy hitter of the event. We're talking about Melanie Salemi. We just heard from her with Don O'Neill, the winner of that $10,000 Chicago-style shootout last year. Her husband, John, the tuner on this car, also provides the power for a lot of the racers out here, does a lot of the tuning for the racers out here as well. Melanie, the team out of New York, you mentioned, of course, her roots in Canada. She's one of the bright stars of pro modified racing out here on the East Coast, especially at the 8th mile level. And that Camaro right now not in the show. Neither is Scott Palmer, the People's Champion, that beautiful Corvette, the Longley Palmer team. See the Lana Strong sticker still on the front of that race car. Boy, it's great just to have Scott Palmer back in a race car after his big accident last year in the Studzilla, the Nitro Pro Mod beast that he had put together. Was touch and go for a while. He's made a recovery. He's back here at the World Series, but they've struggled with his car in qualifying.
Yeah, they have. And I mean, this thing is probably like driving his mom's Cadillac down through here but compared to that Studebaker. But we'll see what he can do here. Like we talked about Melanie Salemi, we had the interview with her earlier. We'll see what their strategy is going into this run. Are they going to try to just knock a couple of numbers off that 68 from yesterday and get down through there? This team swings for the fences. John Salemi, he likes to pour the coals to it. We'll see what he's got here today.
You heard Melanie talk about having a fresh prep racetrack. We just saw Green and Pesz go right down that lane. No issues at all. Let's see what Melanie Salemi has. .366, 204 miles per hour, and Melanie Salemi is in for now. Doesn't quite put them where they want to be, but a 366 with a 7 at 204 miles per hour will move Melanie Salemi up and into the field for now. Scott Palmer goes down there and makes his best run of the event. Puts a 393 up on the board. Not going to be good enough at the moment.
That was a great looking run from Melanie. A lot like Green and Pesz's run, just the run prior, carrying the wheels, nice and settled. Great pass to pick up a couple numbers there.
Johnny Camp and Matt Deach. Your number one qualifier at this event a year ago was Johnny Camp. He's currently down in the number 22 spot. This qualifying session is in reverse order of Q3 last night. So not necessarily in reverse order of how they're currently qualified, but of how they ran in our final run of the evening last night. Johnny Camp in the left lane, the pro-charged machine last year was 200s quicker than the field to be the number one qualifier. Matt Deach on the right side. Here's our first look at a Nitrous car. Mike, we think the weather may be advantageous for those machines today. Explain why. You come from a Pro Mod family. Your father, Charles, one of the real pioneers of this sport with Nitrous combinations. So you have a big history with these. Why, when the weather turns a little grimy, is it so much more advantageous for a Nitrous car?
We always like to say it's pretty much as simple as Nitrous cars bring their own atmosphere. With the nitrous oxide that they're pumping through the engine, they're able to overcome adverse conditions that are out there, whereas these forced induction cars have to work with what's out there. You know, they're obviously overcoming that with superchargers, pro-chargers, and the like. But Nitrous cars, when it's hot, humid, greasy, they usually have the advantage. You've seen someone like Ricky Smith take advantage of that throughout his NHRA Pro Mod career. In the middle of summer, he gains ground on the guys, stocks away a couple of wins, gets some points, and then when the air turns crisp and cool again at the end of the year, the supercharged, turbocharged, and pro-charged guys pick up the advantage.
Johnny Camp right now, that Camaro on the left side out of Pennsylvania, currently number 22 qualifier. Matt Deach is on the outside looking in. He has yet to get that Pat Musi power planted to the ground for the entire 660 feet here at Bradenton Motorsports Park. Well, Deach will make his best run of the weekend, a 376 though. The chutes were out a little bit early, won't put him in. Johnny Camp improves with a 364, and that crew is thrilled with that run. 205 miles per hour. Move Johnny Camp up to the top half of the field and the number 15 spot for now. 3.647, 205 miles per hour. Strong run for Johnny Camp.
We'll see how that compares as this session goes on, but that was a very strong run for the conditions.
Kevin Ryenbark has been bumped out of this field by Melanie Salemi, the new bump spot on the board. A 3.669 that belongs to Raymond Matos. This is the next pair. Completes the burnout. And we get our first look at one of the Decker family racing machines. This is Mike Decker Jr. Mike Decker Jr. right now in the number 31 spot. Also with a 3.669, but on speed, he's one spot ahead of Raymond Matos. And on the right side of the racetrack, you're looking at him, Nova Joe Albrecht. We heard from him in the pre-race. The Philadelphia Eagles legend, future NFL Hall of Famer, the Super Bowl champion, Big Fletcher Cox, standing out in front of that machine that he owns, that he works on, that he's in the trenches with. Nova Joe on, the team out of New York. Shady Trail Ranch, Shotgun Cattle Company, not yet qualified for the World Series of Pro Mod.
We saw in that interview earlier, Nova Joe talking about how Fletcher Cox, he's not just here, he doesn't just own this stuff, he works on this stuff, gets his hands dirty, and he's a team leader. I'm sure brings a ton of that leadership that we see from his decade-long career in the NFL at this point. Brings that when he's out here on the track also. Nova Joe actually ran into him in the hotel elevator, asked him how these guys were feeling. He said, we feel confident, but we're going to go out here and have fun more than anything, and that's what the World Series of Pro Mod is about at its core.
Nova Joe is one of the more entertaining personalities that we have out here in pro modified drag racing. He could be a real star of this sport with a win at an event like this at the World Series of Pro Mod. Mike Decker Jr., Mike and his son, out here racing with that Decker salvage team. He's going to get out of the throttle, and Nova Joe goes 373 at 203 miles per hour. Strong run for Nova Joe. Just not enough at this point, and they're going to have one more chance to bump into the quick 32.
If we look at the numbers, 961 down low for Nova Joe. A little bit slower, but got down through there. I believe it was in the 930s for Decker. Probably had too much early there. Was able to keep that momentum going through the rest of the run.
Mike Decker Jr. was 934 to 60 feet, but he had the front end well off the ground and had to give it a slap of the throttle and aboard the run. It's Chris Klein and Manny Bujinga. A couple of red machines complete their burnouts. Manny Bujinga in the modern day car, that's the Mustang with the Pro Charger on it. The small tire star, the Grudge Racing star from Bridgewater, Massachusetts, the Boston area. The Boston Strangler, Manny Bujinga, not currently qualified for the World Series of Pro Mod right now either. In fact, this team's yet to really get that car down the track. Meanwhile, for Chris Klein, here's a team that's kind of been creeping up on it here. Has that beautiful Fury, Christine, one of the legendary early cars in the world of pro modified drag racing. Chris out of Mooresville, North Carolina, is a chassis builder, builds a handful of the cars that are out here. Built this race car as well. But for Chris and the team, they had a motor issue in qualifying, or in testing rather, that actually led to Paul Dagrapont, an NHRA pro modified racer, shipping his backup motor out here just so Chris had a bullet that he could come to battle with.
They say racers are some of the best people on the planet. That speaks to that. Two North Carolina guys there. I know Chris just got this machine together, just came from Bruce Mullins' paint shop up in Virginia, restoring some of that original Christine beauty to this body. Again, like you said, Manny still working out the bugs of this brand new car. I think there's some really innovative components of this car. We know about the flaps on the roof and in the trunk to keep this thing. Manny's big on safety. He's got to get it down through there first before that safety comes into play.
Well, they're both going to get it down there through this time, and it's a 377 for Manny Bujinga to a 381 for Chris Klein. So they both make clean runs, but I don't believe either one of those teams is going to go back to the pits high-fiving each other after that one. For Manny Bujinga, it moves him to 59th. Chris Klein will sit 60th, and both of them will be up probably pretty early in the run order, and with one last shot to bump into the quick 32 here, the Drag Illustrated World Series of Pro Mod.
I actually think Manny and team may be somewhat satisfied with that. Made a A to B run. Got down through there in these conditions, and they can chip away at it as they make their final qualifier.
Black Betty, Paula Juice, the Camaro on the right side of the racetrack, one of our Canadian competitors here this weekend, and the Northeast Outlaw Pro Mod champion, Derek Ward, out of Fredericksburg, Maryland. That beautiful red with the ghost flames, 68 Firebird. Derek Ward has one of the older race cars in the field. That chassis has been around for a long time, but it is bad fast, obviously. The Northeast Outlaw champion a year ago made a really good run yesterday at 3.682, and we all thought, all right, I think he's going to be staying. 368.2 was the bump here a year ago.
Correct.
And then we just blew by that.
I didn't even realize that till got back home or got back to the hotel and started looking through the numbers that we had already lowered the record bump spot for 32 cars at Pro Mod that we set last year. And we'll see how low that continues to go. I don't know that we'll have the conditions even in our fifth qualifying session later today that we had last night. But these guys that are on the outside looking in certainly will take anything they can get, even on the back end of that ladder at this point.
We've already lowered it to a 366 with a 9. It's Raymond Matos who's on the bump right now. Kevin Ryenbark's the first car out. Both of these cars trying to get in.
You mentioned the age of the chassis, and I think that's an interesting point with the expense of these cars, the long waiting list to get a new chassis from your premier chassis builders. We've seen new chassis builders step into the arena. There's a more variety of chassis builders building these cars, and the guys are running these cars longer. So a lot of these cars are actually maybe 10-year-old chassis.
Derek Ward, the red supercharged Firebird, left lane. Apollo Juice, Black Betty on the right side. Juiced is out of the throttle, but a 366.0 at 206 for Derek Ward to bump his way in to the fastest, quickest 32-car field in the history of Pro Modified drag racing. Derek Ward gets in by 9 thousandths of a second and goes all the way to the number 24 position. 9 thousandths of a second is the difference between not being in the show and being 24th right now.
Yeah, I'm looking at the screen right now. From 17 to 32, I think we went from a 65 to a 66 with a 9. But back to that run for Derek Ward. Again, we talked about the water grains being up and how that mostly affects the screw-blown combination. For that run, we saw Johnny Camp go a 364 with the Pro Charger. That may set the bar for a screw-blown combination. We'll see as this round plays out. But a 66 out here today with those water grains was a great run.
We've had 2 cars bump their way in with Ward and Salemi thus far, although Melanie Salemi is returning or nearing a return to the bump spot. And we have 2 more cars who are not currently qualified. Mike DiDomenico over here on the left side, and Bubba Green, tuned by the legend of Pro Modified drag racing, Scotty Cannon, a man who put Pro Modified on the national map in the IHRA as a not just dominant racer, but a big-time personality. And you see that beautiful look on the front of the car. Reminds you so much of those cars that Scotty used to drive.
Oh, yeah. If you've got the Killer Mater on the nose, we saw the Scotty Cannon signature on the window. Like we joked last night, that's got to be worth a couple numbers. Having Scotty back out here, even just on the grounds, is an honor for us. One of the true originators of Pro Mod, and kind of feels like you couldn't have a World Series of Pro Mod without him.
DiDomenico over here on the left side, and his Corvette has been 374 and 381. Bubba Green's made 1 clean run down the track at a 3.760. They both need to find about a 1/10 of a second. It's DiDomenico getting there first, but a 3.750 is not an improvement. For Bubba Green, 380 with a 5, his best speed of the weekend at 198 miles per hour. But both of these race cars will head into the final qualifying session needing to improve to be part of the quick 32.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with the Bubba Green car. We see that he went 190 last night on his 376 run that actually we're taking for qualifying here, 198 today. So something going on the top end with that car.
Alex Laughlin in the supercharged Camaro, the NHRA star, the former RVW champion, U.S. Nationals champion in a pro stock car, and Blake Housley, one of the coolest cars on the property, Mike. We talked about it last night. This movement the folks at Drag Illustrated have trying to make nostalgia bodies great again.
That's right.
In Pro Modified. Well, here's a 41 Willys with 959 cubic inches of nitrous crammed motor under the hood for Blake Housley and the team out of Missouri, flying the logos, the brand new beautiful Flying H-Drag strip.
It's crazy to me. I know we talked about it last night that Blake is getting 2 different weight breaks with this car. He's getting a 25-pound weight break for the 41 Willys, and he's getting a 25-pound weight break for his small 959 cubic inch nitrous engine. It's crazy how these things continue to develop and evolve to where we're now giving a weight break for a 959 because these things have creeped up 990, close to 1,000 cubic inches at the top end, which you'll see guys like Tommy Franklin, Marcus Butner, those guys running that nitrous combination actually have a bigger engine than Blake.
Both cars on the outside. Alex Laughlin's going to stay there. Let's see what Housley has. 368.8, 203 miles per hour. Gets the Willys into the 60s. It's not enough to get him in right now, but it's going to put him in the ballpark. And I think that team, just looking at the crew walking off the starting line there, I think they're not that upset with a 368. 3.688, 203 miles per hour for Blake Housley's. Pretty strong run.
Yeah, I mean, 370 flat last night, 368 today. In the heat of the day, as we like to say. Pretty impressive out of that car.
J.R. Gray, Chad Green. Next pair. Get ready to fire up. 2 men who've never shied away from a drag race.
Did you see the social media banter after J.R. Gray and Justice Swanstrom's Rivals Night pairing last night? They were already going at it. We joked about that while they were out here on the track, but they couldn't wait to jump on social and start dragging each other there also. So that was great to see. Again, like you said, Chad Green, this man's not shy. He'll jump from a Nitro Funny Car into this Nitrous Pro Mod, back into a Nitro Funny Car next weekend at the NHRA season opener in Gainesville.
Chad Green's the most recent winner on the NHRA Tour in a Nitro Funny Car. He won his first event, the World Finals, Pomona, California in November. He's a former winner in Pro Modified racing as well. He's also, probably much to his chagrin, the owner of one of the more spectacular crashes in the history of NHRA Pro Modified at the U.S. Nationals a couple of years ago when his car literally took flight at half track and didn't come down until he got to the lights and actually broke his back and put him out of action for a while. And it was while Chad was out of action that he actually started to put the plan together to get into a Nitro Funny Car. Had nothing to do with Pro Mod and the accident scaring or whatnot. It just gave him some time to actually work on putting that funny car program together.
That became a really expensive accident for Chad right there. If it gave him time to think about jumping from a Pro Mod into a Nitro Funny Car.
Chad Green has tuning help from Mean Dean Marinas, one of the greatest nitrous racers of all time, and J.R. Gray and the Gray Contracting Machine. Alan Hobby Performance, of course, tuned by Mike Janis and Mike Janis Jr., one of the great names in the history of Pro Modified racing and builders of some of the best superchargers in the world, including the one that sits on top of that race car. J.R. Gray has yet to make a clean run here at the World Series of Pro Mod. Chad Green's made 3 of them, but needs to be quicker. J.R. Gray had to do some driving and goes 378 at only 197 miles per hour. For Chad Green, if it was a bracket race, he'd have himself a race car at 372, 206 miles per hour, find some big speed with that nitrous machine. But again, just not enough for Chad Green to put himself into the show.
Yeah, huge speed out of that car. It really looked like it was moving in the second half of the track, just not quick enough down low to take advantage of it.
Speaking of Justin Swanstrom, here is the No Prep King star. Zephyr Hills, Florida, driving the Type A machine. Get some help from Marty Robertson. Noonan-powered 67 Camaro on the right side of the racetrack. And on the other side, another NHRA racer. And this is actually an NHRA legal race car. Dmitry Samarukov, a car that we will see on the track next Friday at the Gator Nationals in Gainesville, Florida. Driving for Adam Flamholk, the team out of Sweden. Dmitry, of course, has his ties back in Moscow, the Russian Drag Racing Federation, where he was a star and helped really expand that program before coming stateside to compete in the NHRA. And now at the World Series of Pro Mod, Dmitry was, I'm just throwing this out there, because last year, the last entrant into this event won it. Dmitry was the last entrant into the World Series of Pro Mod.
Maybe there's something to it. These are 2 guys that I don't think, even for myself, a couple of months ago, certainly didn't think I'd see both of these guys at the World Series of Pro Mod. Once we heard Justin Swanstrom was getting a Pro Mod car together, that kind of became a no-brainer to get him to this event. And then as of just earlier this week, we didn't think we were going to have Dimitri competing, like you said, replacing Adam Flamhall.
Dimitri was here. The backstory is Adam had a car he had built for this event, but they tested it, did not like where it was going. They decided to park that car and bring this one out. Adam's a pretty big guy, tall. Couldn't fit in the forward seat for Dimitri.
He's jacked.
So
Adam is jacked. You could just go ahead and say
it. No question. So they said, hey, Dimitri, you drive it. And here we are. 366.9, the current bump spot. Samarukov rattles the tires, and Swanstrom just ate one up.
Yeah.
In a big way. Justin Swanstrom goes 409 at 132 miles per hour, and that team should already be lowering the lift gate on the trailer to pull another motor out of the hauler, because that one is no good.
Yeah, you saw that thing just die there instantly about half track. I was watching Dimitri, big tire shake. I think he almost rattled the door open on that side. Then right as that happened, look over at Swanstrom. Do we have the supercharger? Yeah, the ejector hats.
And it's funny, it didn't look like your classic, supercharger becomes dislodged from the manifold situation. It just started putting smoke out and leaned over. And you've got to imagine that when he lifted, there were some problems as well. Justin Swanstrom had a pretty big boomer last night as well.
He did. This one was a little less dramatic, but neither of these are going to be cheap incidents.
Swanstrom's okay. Actually, to his credit, did a nice job getting the car over out of the groove. And here's another look. Samarukov rattles the tire and lifts, and there it goes for Swanstrom. In fact, I'm not even sure when it popped the supercharger. It might have been right there when the car made a little bit of a move. But at that point,
it had the wheels up. It had the wheels up. It looked pretty good. And then we saw the butterflies close. Hopefully there's nothing on the track. Like you said, good job by Justin to try to get that thing over out of the groove as much as possible.
And as you mentioned, look, Justin Swanstrom has done a lot of racing in his life, but not a lot of organized heads-up events like this. It does not come from this world. It comes from the No Prep Kings, the Street Outlaws world. And so for him to recognize, I have a problem, get me out of the groove, just so you know, I know that you're wishing there's nothing on the racetrack.
Do you have bad news for me, Jason?
I do. I think our drone shot there had it pretty clear that there was not just some stuff on the track, but a puddle of it.
Yeah, once the sun caught that fluid on the track there, pretty evident.
So tough break for Justin Swanstrom and their team. That's back-to-back runs with major damage to that race car, and there's going to be a little bit of cleanup on the track, obviously, as our safety crew goes to work here. One of the drivers who's already bumped their way into the field for now and hanging on for dear life, Melanie Salemi, is with Courtney Enders.
I've been waiting to talk to this gal all weekend. I call you the queen of Pro Mod for a reason. Little bit of struggles this weekend. Before we talk about that run, give us a little insight to what y'all been going through.
We just had some power issues, and we figured it out yesterday before the last qualifier, and obviously we were just a little bit too aggressive on that one, and it shook. But I knew as soon as I walked into the motorhome yesterday after downloading and John sat down at the computer, he was like 2 seconds and said, oh, we'll be fine. So I had no doubt that it was going to go A to B on that one, and now he can have a full run to tune it up for tonight.
I know that it may have been, I may be stirring up a little bit of drama here, but we don't know what's going to happen this afternoon. It looks like it's doing well, but what we did yesterday with the schedule was to prepare for maybe only getting one in there. So was there a little sweat on your brow this morning?
Not really. I mean, I have full confidence in my husband and this car. This car has been one of the best race cars that I've ever had, and unfortunately, fortunately but unfortunately, we are building a new one, so it's going to be really hard to get rid of this, so I don't know if we will or not, but maybe we'll just have two and be double trouble.
I love it. I know you're looking for redemption from last year. Came out with the winners of the losers race, we'll call it, but I know Melanie's going to want to be in the big show tomorrow.
Well, right now she is in the big show tomorrow, but not safe. Bumped into the field, Mike. Right now only 2 spots from getting bumped right back out. Still a lot of heavy hitters here to go in this session.
But a lot of confidence out of that team. You heard Melanie there. As soon as John got back and pulled the data up on the computer, he took 2 seconds and said, we're going to be fine. That's good to hear out of that team, and I think we'll see them further improve later today and stick in the show.
get a qualifying session number 5, and that's certainly going to be one of the cars I think that will look to make a move up into the top half of the field. You can see the safety crew here at Bradenton Motorsports Park and Drag Illustrated going to work, cleaning up whatever that fluid is. It's on the racetrack. Whatever that fluid is, let's be honest, probably oil. Justin Swanstrom and that team unfortunately hurting another motor there on that run, so it'll be just a few more minutes while we get this cleaned up. Thankfully, it looks like it's mostly down in the shutdown area, which make it a little bit easier to clean up and get us back underway. Another driver who has bumped their way into the field with a strong run. Derek Ward is with Don O'Neill.
Ready? All right, Derek Ward, they call that good enough for now.
Yep, we put a tune-up in it, it held it, went a 66-0, so hopefully that keeps us in the show, and we'll give us some more later and see what we can do.
I think you and I both know, as well as everybody at home, 66 is not going to stay in the show.
Not tonight, no. No, it's not. But it doesn't matter where you qualify at this race.
You just got to be in.
You just got to be in, yep.
All right, congrats to Derek Ward and his team. Told you he was a dark horse. Got to watch for him. See what happens in Q5.
He's the champion of one of the 6 different series that we have represented here this weekend. So I don't know how much of a dark horse he is, but certainly that team struggled so much through Thursday and yesterday, Mike. That's the thing for me that was the most probably crushing thing to watch, is to have them come up here 3 runs in a row between Thursday night and Friday first 2 sessions. And it's not like they didn't make good runs. They never got to the burnout box. That's tough to watch.
It's super frustrating to lose those opportunities, and you need as much testing as you can get leading into this event. And it puts you behind the 8 ball, like we talked about. I know we've kept talking about Melanie Salemi and her just being 1 run short last year from breaking into the field, and getting down the track Q1 or making good, efficient runs and testing to set yourself up for a successful weekend is huge. But I always like to say, and this is something that I learned racing with my dad all those years, right when you think you're on the outs, drag racing will throw you a bone. So all it takes is just 1 right call, 1 right move, and you'll be right back where you need to be. And definitely look out for Derek after that strong 366 here in the heat of the day. Got a
lot
nice
of talent here at the World Series promo.
Yeah, we got a nice crowd here today. We have the swag just on lock. We've got all kinds of different swag we're throwing into the stands all day. We've got
Give me one of these cool Racers Club shirts you guys all have.
Yeah, man, you got to get one of these. We'll see if we can talk to somebody and get you set up with one of these.
Do you know somebody?
Yeah, you know they're selling so hot down there. I don't know if you've gotten one yet. We may have to set one aside. I'll make a call down there and say,
all right,
put Galvin's name on one of those.
See if you can pull some strings on that one. 65 cars now that have attempted to make a entry into the World Series of Pro Mod with a pass here at Bradenton Motorsports Park after Green and Pesz came up here and made a run. That team went through all the emotions over the last couple of days, Mike.
And they've been on a high leading into this event. Like we talked about last night, Cole Pesz is as excited as anyone to be here as he's kind of just launching his tuning careers at the Chuck Parker in his new 69 Camaro. And PGS Racing Engine is a great supporter of this event, that these guys are, like we just said, as excited as anyone to be here. And for them to have that breakage and forced out of the event, I know was a heartbreaker. So great to see them work to fix that thing and be back out here. I know everyone else in the field probably doesn't feel that same way as we added back to this enormous car count for this event as we watch this drone shot here, just showing the sheer scope of the rigs that are parked here. I don't think we could park another rig here if we had to.
It would be very difficult. Green and Pesz was able to make a run today. First car down the track, made a nice and clean pass. Still needs to try to pick up some performance to get in the field in qualifying session number 5. He was able to catch up with Don O'Neill after making his debut at the 2024 World Series of Pro Mod.
All right, Brandon Pesz, we've talked about it on the stream. Everybody knows your car had a broken frame rail and it left our property on a flatbed, and somebody came to become your angel.
Well, I thought I was done and told Wes, but then ran across Victor, and Victor said, hell no, that ain't happening. He got on the phone with Cameron Johnson, and they came out and we can work all night and get it fixed. We're pretty confident, so they took off with it and they got it fixed. So I just had to put A to B just you know, set up for tonight. And so we just made sure it went down, make sure everything's working right and all that stuff, and then we'll step it up tonight and see if we can get in.
Did you feel all the helium get put back in your balloon late last night?
I did. I mean, my son's car with Chuck driving is hauling ass, and we're very happy about that. That was a thrash to get here. It's a great story in itself. But at the end of the day, I was like, man, I ain't racing, right? And but thanks to Cameron and Victor and Wes, I'm back out here, and hopefully I can get in this last one.
Folks, that'll be a storyline come Q5.
That's what we talked about, right?
Yeah, it confirms what we said. The excitement is back for Brandon Pesz to be back in this event, but he's more excited for his son, which I think is cool. Drag racing is such a father-son family activity, to see that excitement out of that Pesz team overall. And he also confirmed what we saw when his car made its pass. A good, smooth A to B run, wheels up, nothing too exciting or crazy out of it, and they're just setting up for tonight.
Look forward to see if Brandon Pesz can bump his way into this field in qualifying session number 5. Still have a lot of cars left to go here in Q4. We'll see them when we return to the Drag Illustrated World Series of Pro Mod.
Winning doesn't just happen. You have to engineer it. You have to test it and make it better than it was the last time. Our engineers have the passion to create the parts you need, the way you need them to be, again and again and again. We've led this game for over 40 years, and we design, refine, and perfect every valve-train part worthy of the winner's circle.
You're watching the biggest, richest pro mod race in the history of the known universe. Featuring champions and record breakers from every corner of the drag racing world. This is Drag Illustrated's World Series of Pro Mod. Live from Bradenton Motorsports Park.
Welcome back to the 5th annual Drag Illustrated World Series of Pro Mod, presented by J&A Services and Johnson's Horse-Powered Garage. Just a few minutes of track prep and cleanup remain. We'll get back underway with qualifying session number 4 here in Pro Modified. Let's meet one of the real stars of this sport, and currently your number 3 qualifier, Pittsboro, North Carolina's Jason Harris.
My name is Jason Harris. I'm from Pittsboro, North Carolina, and I drive the 1969 Party Time Pro Boost Pro Charge Camaro. I'm different in a way that I don't get rattled real easy. I've been doing it for a long time. I was born and raised drag racing. I don't know anything else. This is my family. This is where I grew up. So I'm just out here to have fun and do the best I can. And you know, we're a low budget team and we kind of do the best we can with the high budget teams, but we're out here to race and put on a good show. Well, the good thing about PDRA is you can come, you can be a part of the pits. It's not like you're roped off where you can't be in there and come see me. You can walk right up to my car. You can ask me questions along with anybody else. We're more of a family, more of a homegrown organization where everybody can come see and be a part of racing. It's, you know, a really, really down to earth business, and it's ran as well as any organization can. I think some of the fans don't get to see a lot of the behind the scenes it takes to put on one of these races for the track and the staff at PDRA. And me as a racer, I just enjoy going up and down the racetrack on a safe racetrack, know that it's going to be done in a timely manner, and I can get home to my family. Well, being as an 8-mile race, you know, not always the fastest car wins. So sometimes you got to be good on both ends of the racetrack. You got to be, you know, good on the tree. You got to be concentrated, but you also have to have a pretty fast hot rod. So I think you got to put 2 and 2 together. Where other organizations, I don't think are so much. I think you can just kind of be the fastest car with the most money, and you seem to pick up win lines. I'm kind of a weird driver. I like to be able to race as hard as I can. I'd rather run somebody that I've got to go 100% on and
Party Time's currently your number 3 qualifier and a real threat to win this race, Mike.
Once again, like we talked about last year, went to semifinals, and Jason Harris, he's a star around North Carolina, where I'm from, but to see him shine on the national stage, if you watched the broadcast, jumping out of his car, tons of energy, plenty to say, and also probably one of the best drivers on the property.
Boy, where'd Wes learn how to throw like that?
I don't know. I hope that's not the bicep that he tore a couple of years ago.
He was doing push-ups over at the race.
Yeah, and he jumped up and kind of looked at that bicep like he might have re-injured it. He needs to watch it.
He was brave. Brave indeed. Look at him.
Yeah,
He's checking it. Doesn't feel right, Mike. Doesn't feel right.
I know you're shocked they had to do push-ups over there to get a quick pump on before some Racers Club photos.
Oh, we're having a good time at least while track cleanup continues after Justin Swanstrom let go of one down there. They're almost done, actually, on the top end of the racetrack, just doing a couple more drags. So when we return, we should be back underway with the 4th qualifying session here, the 5th annual Drag Illustrated World Series of Pro Mod, presented by JHG and J&A Services.
Personally, I want to see no prep Kings flourish. I think they've been fantastic for the sport of drag racing. I think Street Outlaws has been fantastic for the sport of drag racing. Personally, I want to see no prep Kings flourish. I think they've been fantastic for the sport of drag racing. I think Street Outlaws has been fantastic for the sport of drag racing. I know there are people that believe they have romanticized street racing, illegal street racing, and I understand the concerns with that. I think they're justified, they're valid, but I would also remind you that Hollywood has been romanticizing bad things for as long as they've been making movies, right? Think about all the old mob movies that we watch and fall in love with. They're all filled with horrible things, one horrible thing happening after another. And we don't hold Hollywood responsible necessarily for, if people get into join the mob, right? So I always tell my wife, and we talk about this, like, it's our responsibility as parents to teach our kids right from wrong, not Discovery Channel's. And I think it's been, can you identify anything that has made the splash? Few things in the history of drag racing have made the splash that No Prep Kings and Street Outlaws combined have made over the course of the last, 10 years almost?
Yeah,
And
really up until the World Series of Pro Mod and the Skag Power Equipment Pro Superstar Shootout. Outside of those two things, probably among the biggest.
Amongst many other racers here this week.
Yeah, that was a good tie-in right there. We got a No Prep King star at the World Series of Pro Mod. Like we talked about on the show there, two of the biggest things to hit, especially door car racing in recent memory. Bad break there for Justice Swanstrom, but looks like we've got this Wade Rich and his Bradenton Motorsports Park track crew getting this track back to where it needs to be in short fashion.
Still to come, Chuck 55, Chuck Parker, who's driving that Cole Pez car that we talked about earlier. They're comfortably in the show at this point. At least coming into the session they were. And so far, nobody's gone quicker than where they're at. They come into this session in the number 14 spot with a 364 with a 6. I still think there's a lot that can change with the bump spot. I feel pretty comfortable saying 364 is going to make the show.
I think so. I don't know that you'll see the bump spot drop dramatically, but you'll just see this thing tighten up. It'll continue to tighten up, and just the spread from 1 to 32 is incredible. It looks like some kind of bracket racing field after the field is set. And that's just, again, we talk about the parity, getting these combinations all running together. Pro Mod again started with Nitrous, Supercharged, then of course Turbos, then Pro Charger. Now balancing all these combinations and having 65 cars all run within a few hundredths of each other for $100,000 is a door car and Pro Mod fans' dream come true.
I still think there's a chance. I guess not seeing the bump spot drop a lot is relative, right? Because we talk about a 364 being safe, but a 366 is the bump rate. It's a 366 with a 9. I think there's a chance we still get to 365. And specifically because you look at some of the cars, still not in. So we still haven't seen Jason Lee run this session. Not in. Haven't seen Eric Latino, one of the Albella's cars. Not in. Haven't seen Billy Albert. Not in. Haven't seen Mike Decker III. Not in. Keith Haney. Not in. Tommy Cunningham. Not in. Midwest Drag Racing Series champion Dustin Nestone. Not in. Kevin Ryenbark. Not in. Raymond Matos. Not in. I mean, that's 7 or 8 drivers I just rattled off who, if you would have picked their name out of the hat in your World Series of Pro Mod pool, for who's going to win this weekend, you would have went, I got a shot.
That's more of the insanity of this event. Is you look at the non-qualifier list, and it would be a who's who at most other national events or local Pro Mod series. And again, that's why we have our Chicago-style shootout. But it just speaks a lot. These guys are, when they get invited to this event, I've been around shops and hear guys building cars and testing and buying new parts, and the amount of money and investment, time and energy that is put into this event and getting ready for this season opening event for a lot of these guys. It really, just for the winner to go home with $100,000, for all these guys to push all those chips into the middle of the table and make that commitment to this event, just shows what it means beyond the pay, beyond the cost that it takes to do this. You know, we've got these huge banners here on this tower, the Spencer Hyde and our former champions from the World Series of Pro Mod, the huge trophy, the cover of Drag Illustrated magazine, the pomp, the circumstance, and notoriety. We keep talking about Spencer Hyde, and this was a guy well known in his area, was making the transition to Pro Mod, just kind of starting his career in this class, and now he's one of the biggest names and the most talked about and celebrated names over the past year in Pro Mod drag racing. And that, to me, is what this event, when all these guys spend all this money and make this commitment to this event, that's what it's about. The money comes and goes. That trophy sitting in your trophy case, the photos, the cover of Drag Illustrated magazine, all those things can't be taken away, and that's what these guys are competing for.
In 365 days, effectively, Spencer Hyde went from little-known Canadian drag racer to World Series of Pro Mod champion to PDRA championship contender to top fuel dragster pilot. All because he won the World Series of Pro Mod.
Kind of insane to think about, but it's his story. I don't think it's gonna be tough to top that one. The way, like we talked about, one of the last invitees to the event got in on the very last shot in one of the most epic qualifying sessions we've ever seen in Pro Modified. The final session here a year ago. Then gets in, number 32 spot, goes to the chip draw. I think he won on a number of hole shots. I don't have it in front of me here, but almost every round was a hole shot win. You almost can't. There's the shot of Spencer there. Mike Bowman, Carl Stevens Jr., and the late Scotty Oaksis, our former champions of the World Series of Pro Mod. But when it comes to Spencer in 2023, you can't write a story better than that. And then that photo you see there, that was on the cover of Drag Illustrated magazine, shot by Luke Nyhoff, who's here shooting for us again. Super talented photographer, actually out of Australia, but is here in the Florida area now. Another great asset that we have here. Let's talk about that, just the media that we have here. Of course, we're a media outlet at Drag Illustrated, but the support that we get from these incredible photographers and videographers. We just saw the piece a minute ago on Jason Harris that was shot by Corey Mahalik at React 104. Just the incredible support and media exposure that this event generates for these racers. We could not do that without each of these independent media outlets. There's Scott Susi, probably one of the biggest pro stock fans on the planet, always generating great video content. We can't thank everyone enough for coming out and supporting this event on the media side.
You mentioned Corey Mahalik in React 104. How good is this stuff?
It's almost like too good. I worry Corey might already be like an AI bot or something that was created to generate video, because the man is just not human.
And just like that, we're back underway here at the Drag Illustrated World Series of Pro Mod, and right away we come out swinging with a couple of cars that are plenty capable of competing for a win in this event, but first they need to qualify. And it's wild to think about it that way, as Rob Cox and Robert Abbott get ready to go. Abbott, who's in one of the old Turo machines, getting help from the folks at Wild Motorsports and Tie Drive. Ty and Todd actually tuning this race car. And Rob Cox over here on the left side, who made that switch from the Pro Charger combo last year, which he qualified with, he's pretty successful with, to the Screw Charger combination. Car's gone up and down the racetrack. Hasn't gone up and down the racetrack in the 60s, though, and right now, 370s just don't get it done. 370s won't get you in to the shootout at this point.
No, sir. We talk about the age of these chassis. Both of these cars, Rob Cox has had that car for a number of years. It's gone through a couple different power plant changes like you talked about. And then Robert Abbott in the former Todd Totoro car, which is at least a handful of years old. But really great cars that have always performed well. Rob Cox still figuring out this screwball machine, but he's got Justin Elks, Modern Racing, one of the most talented all-around tuning gurus, wiring, chassis tuning. The guy can do it all. So if anyone can figure it out, Justin, to get this car down the track and into the field.
Interesting note that during that downtime, it actually got cooler here in Bradenton as Cox and Abbott are off. And a couple of low 370 runs, 372.1 for Robert Cox, 371.0 for Robert Abbott. Both cars step up in a big way, make their best runs of the weekend. Neither car right now part of the 32-car field.
Yep, solid runs there. Just a little slow and, screw-blown combination in this air again. And as time has continues to go on, the heat continues to build. We had that downtime. We'll see how that affects things here.
The cloud cover has played a factor in keeping the heat from building too much. In fact, as I mentioned, it's actually dropped a degree as far as the relative temperature outside. Everything else has stayed just about the same. The density altitude is down about 50 feet from when we started this session. The big deal is the water drains are still way up, 96.6. That is astronomically high number of water drains in the air for the supercharged combination.
Yep, hey, plenty of water right there and all around. You almost forget when you're here at this track that we are that close to water and we're at pretty much at sea level. But again, cloud cover, and we have, when you're having fun, you lose track of time, man. I didn't realize that it's almost 4 o'clock here on the East Coast. So we've probably peaked as far as reaching the hottest temperature of the day, and it'll start to decline from here. But again, Wade Rich and this team's got this track as good as it can be for these conditions, which Bradenton Motorsports Park, the surface that was redone a couple of years ago by Victor Alvarez, is one of the best in the country.
No question.
And in fact, when we came here for the Pro Superstar Shootout a couple of weeks ago, Kurt Johnson, Total Venue Concepts, he made a comment that this track, the second half of the track from the 660 to the 1320, has probably the best contact surface that he's worked on in the entire country. So
it's high praise, Kurt Johnson.
Absolutely.
No question, I think the best track specialist when it comes to building and maintaining racetracks and surfaces, understanding them in the country. Tony Wilson, Andrew Handress, Nitrous car in the right lane, that's Handress. Wilson, the Celebrity Machines, Corvette. Handress is trailing smoke like a locomotive down there, 371 for Tony Wilson. Andrew Handress goes 375.7 to 197 miles per hour. That will not get either one of those race cars into this field. Tony Wilson makes his best run of the weekend at a 3.715. Andrew Handress's car was sour from the second he let go of the button, and the further down track he went, the worse it got.
Yeah, improvement there for Tony Wilson. I think that was a really solid run here today, but another expensive run there for Handress, one of the Nitrous cars in the field.
The over-the-wall guys there was checking to see if there's any slick stuff on the track, and I think the fact that his shoe came off 3 times probably tells you it's okay. Here's Andrew Handress and Tony Wilson again. Look at Handress. Look at the black smoke. That's not something you see very often out of one of these race cars. And then it turns white in the lights, and that's not good either. What would the black smoke be from, Mike?
Probably just a ring issue, or just had one out right from the hit there. I mean, it was almost as soon as he left the line. Then it just lets go right here at the finish line, like you said. Sacrificed one to the piston gods.
At least one.
At least.
Mike, I'm going to get you a haircut like that for next year's version of this event.
I think that'd be a good look, man.
Yeah. I don't know if you can pull off the beard, though. Maybe we could get Nate to do his beard like that.
Yeah, we really should. Maybe JT will do it.
I hate to say it, but it is Chiefs red. Billy Albert and Jason Lee. Here we go. 2 of those racers we mentioned that if you would have drawn their name on Thursday in the work pool for the World Series of Pro Mod. Probably felt like he had a decent shot, especially with Jason Lee, that Coast Packing team. His teammate, Eric Gustafson's currently qualified 6th. But Jason Lee, who was a contender for the NHRA Pro Modified World Championship a year ago in this supercharged machine, has also made a switch from a Pro Charger combination to a Screw Charger combination. Coast Packing, of course, the big business out of California. Jason out of the Vernon area, such a large supporter. Pro Modified Racing with Jason and Eric Gustafson and the team. And Jason Lee right now is way down in 46. Would have not expected that coming into Saturday.
Not at all. Like we talked about last night, has had good success here and has been a threat in the former Todd Tutterow machine there with Coast Packing backing. And then on the other side, Billy Albert, I was looking at his engine combination here. It's just a flat 1,000. That's all he's got. 1,000 cubic inches packed into that Albert Racing Engines Camaro over there on the left lane.
Structural and mechanical on the side of that race car for Billy Albert, the Nitrous machine, who builds the motors for that race car. Out of Virginia, and Jason Lee, who calls California home, driving the Coast Packing machine. Billy Albert made a big move to the center line and is out of the throttle, and Jason Lee goes 375 at 196, and he was out of the gas early down there as well. 3.754 at 196. It didn't necessarily look like it was hurting itself. It made a little bit of a move as it was going through the lights, but surprising to see Jason lift early. Perhaps maybe he felt something inside the car he wasn't comfortable with.
Yeah, the last couple hundred feet of the track there made a move toward the wall, and he got out of it. I don't think he hurt it.
So Billy Albert and Jason Lee will be 2 of the bigger names not qualified when we head into the final session tonight here at Bradenton. And here comes Eric Latino and the Dark Knight, John Vergatz. John Vergatz became a social media sensation last night for all the wrong reasons, Mike.
He did. It's good to see this car back out there. I'm sure they had a spare hood scoop in the trailer because he definitely wasn't going to be using the one that he had on there last night.
John Vergatz in last night's Rivals Night showdown against the #1 qualifier, Mark Mickey, in the other lane, was actually out on Mickey and on his way to winning that Rivals Night matchup, and grenaded the nitrous-fed motor in this race car. 974 cubic inches of Pat Musi power, and 965 of them came out of the pipes when that thing went through the lights.
A surprisingly tight matchup. That one was not originally planned, and we know Mark Mickey, you know, anyone kind of feels like they're bringing a knife to a gunfight when they line up against Mark Mickey these days. But we watched the replay, and right until that explosion he had in the lights, John Vergatz was leading in that race. So that was a surprisingly tight Rivals Night matchup.
No question about it. Eric Latino driving the other Al Billis tuned machine here this weekend. His teammate Kenny Lang is comfortably in the show at this point. Eric, one of the boss men over at KB Titan Racing, not yet qualified.
Got Al Billis down there behind the car.
Boy, another one let go down there for John Vergatz, and Eric Latino goes 3.737 at 204 miles per hour. Did he lose the scoop again?
Yeah, it's
Boy,
almost
John
the same.
Vergatz.
The scoop almost looks the same as the one that was on there last night, so it's a very similar situation. And these Nitrous guys are really struggling here today, hurting a lot of parts, but it just shows they're not leaving anything on the table, putting everything they have into it here for Q4.
For Vergatz, he goes 373 at 194 miles per hour, but it was on a good run. 948 to 60 feet, 2.49 to 330. It was definitely on its way to being into the 60s. I don't know if it was going to get in, but he was going to make a run at it. And then yet another engine failure for Vergatz and the team. As Dustin Nestone and Mike Decker III complete the burnout process, we'll take another look. Watch Vergatz. It's the Nitrous car with the hood scoop. Left lane, right side of your screen here on the FloRacing replay. Everything looks good. Boy, the scoop actually.
Yeah, it almost looks like it just folded back. Yeah, and maybe I was looking at that scoop, but I couldn't get a close enough look. It may have been a borrowed scoop, something. Maybe the fitment wasn't exactly right, and the air did that. So that would be best case scenario for John.
Yeah, you almost wonder if he just lifted early because it scared him when the scoop came off.
Yeah, it would me. He probably couldn't see anything.
So here's Mike Decker the third.
Wes out there flexing in front of the car.
Is that the good bicep or the bad one?
I think that was the bad one.
Oh. He's playing with fire this weekend. Dustin Nestone, meanwhile, former Midwest Drag Racing Series champion, who brought a different car to the fight this weekend.
Interesting story with Nestone. This is another car that was converted from a Pro Charger to a screw blower. Went out testing in Alabama last week, I believe. Actually, on one of the first couple of runs, had an incident, went off the end of the track, had to repair the car with almost no time to get to this event. But again, these guys do whatever it takes to get to the World Series of Pro Mod.
Mike Decker the third on the outside looking in. His father hanging on for dear life. Look at Decker carry the front end on that race car, and Nestone goes 369 with a 4, 203 miles per hour. It's a good run, all things considered, for this time of the day with that screw-charged machine, but it's not good enough to put him in the show. For Mike Decker, he's out of the throttle early and goes 386 at only 176 miles per hour.
Solid run there for Nestone. Not better than his 367 from last night, but about as good as you could hope for today, given those conditions. And given the limited data that they have on that car and that combination.
Here come two of the real stars of Pro Modified Racing, Tommy Cunningham and Tricky Ricky Smith. Cunningham, now the new proprietor at Stroud Safety. That's the supercharged combination. You just heard do the burnout. And here's a look. The king himself, Tricky Ricky. Apparently taking his time.
Yeah, all right. Ricky, Rivals night last night with Todd Tutterow, we had kind of a similar situation.
Well, it actually looks like they're putting the covers back on the tires.
Okay. Maybe this is a
I wonder
single.
if Tricky Ricky's having an issue.
I'm not sure. I think they would be pushing that car away if there was an issue. We'll see if we can get word. Got the Cunningham family here. Again, some of the nicest people at the track, the owners of Stroud Safety, big supporters of the World Series of Pro Mod, the official safety solution of the World Series of Pro Mod. Made a solid run last night. We'll see what they do today.
This is a car that dipped into the 360s, the 3.671. Currently number 36. When we came into this session, Tommy Cunningham was tied for the bump spot, but was on the outside based on speed. Has since been knocked down 2 more spots. Ricky Smith not making the call. Here comes the supercharged car on a solo. And that one gave up early. 3.753 at 185 miles per hour. I almost wonder if that lost the blower belt down there.
Yeah, it kind of sounded like it. At first I thought it was just possibly early shut off, but I did hear something there on the top end.
So Cunningham coasts to a stop down here. I'm not sure he's going to make the turn without getting a little boost on the top end of the track. It's just the way that that car kind of made. Trying to see if we can see in through the hood of that race car.
Yeah, it's tough to tell. Cunningham family will be back Q5, and I actually just heard a nitrous engine fire up. Ricky is going to make the call.
All right. Well, not sure what happened with that situation there, but here comes Ricky Smith.
I don't know what happened there. Like we saw when the camera was showing him there, the crew member putting the tire cover back on, but no real urgency. and they weren't moving the car away. It's almost like they knew they just were going to run this pair and wanted to keep the heat off the tire. So I'm not sure what happened there. We'll find out.
Parkway Ford, SoCal. The Mustang for Tricky Ricky out of King, North Carolina. 998 cubic inches of Pat Musi nitrous power.
This was a funny story. You know, Ricky, he's retired more than anyone in drag racing. I told him I'm not sure that he understands the definition of retirement, but that's okay. We'll keep having him back. He actually gave us a call and said, hey, guys, you can invite me to this race? And we said, Ricky, we thought you were retired. He said, oh, no, I mean, I still got my car. I'd like to drag it out there for at least this event and maybe a couple more this year. So good to have Ricky competing with us again.
Ricky and Jake Coughlin Jr. could write a dissertation on how to retire and unretire.
When you're as good as those guys are, I think you just can do whatever you want. We're not going to complain.
Tricky Ricky's currently qualified 39th. Needs to pick up a couple of thousandths of a second. Not going to happen. Ricky Smith's out of the gas early and goes 384, 167 miles per hour. And that car was not very happy from the beginning.
Yeah, 967, 250 with an 8 to the 330. Not really doing a whole lot there. Maybe Ricky just felt something and shut it down.
So we're getting into the cars now who are currently in the field. Here comes a pair. Still trying to bump their way in, including a car that started this session on the bump and is now no longer qualified. Kevin Ryenbark driving the Culp Lumber machine, the second entry for Stan Shelton. Stan made a really nice run last night, put himself into the number 15 spot when this session began. Kevin Ryenbark, the second Culp Lumber machine, the Mustang in the left lane, sits 34th. Meanwhile, William Brown III, Black Magic 2.0. And this car is also just outside of the field in the number 38 spot.
William Brown and family, the Brown family, have stepped up here. They're longtime Top Sportsman competitors, have dabbled in Pro Mod here and there. Really going all in this combination. Excited to have them at the World Series of Pro Mod. They've been really running well to start the year. We'll see if they can get into the field. Kevin Ryenbark, longtime veteran in the Southeast, has driven a lot of different kind of combinations in cars, teamed up with Stan Shelton. And I think you'll probably see this car next weekend as well. This is an NHRA legal car that they'll have running the NHRA Pro Mod Series this year.
Ryenbark started competing with Stan Shelton midway through last year and really helped the performance on Stan Shelton's car as well. Of course, always helps when you have a second car that is competitive. Comes to collecting data. As look at Ryenbark carry the front end on that machine. 366 with a 9, 207 miles per hour. And for Kevin Ryenbark, on speed, bumps his way back into the field at 207 miles per hour. Into the number 32 spot goes Kevin Ryenbark on speed.
He likes that 32 spot. Came into this session in 32nd, leaves it, at least right now, in 32nd. And to actually improve, he went a 366 with a 9 compared to his 367 with a 1 last night. To improve in these conditions here today is really impressive.
There's a hot rumor going around that the number 32 qualifier won this event a year ago.
Are they pulling the Greg Anderson where they're going to like intentionally qualify? Intentionally qualify in the last spot so they can get the matchup they want. Can't do that here with the chip draw.
Comes Jeff Rudolph. That's the ghetto sleigh. The man they call the sheriff out of Brownsburg, Indiana. Drag racing capital of the world these days. And that is Keith Haney, the boss man of the Midwest Drag Racing Series. Tulsa Raceway Park, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Keith Haney's home. Car they call Black Mamba. Nitrous machine. Midwest Drag Racing Series champion. Keith Haney right now, Mike, not yet qualified.
Came into this to this session 33rd. Again, not qualified now. we'll see how this Nitrous car performs. We haven't really seen much out of the Nitrous guys here in this session, which we opened with saying that these conditions could possibly favor that combination, but it hasn't played out that way.
I was like, what is Wes telling him? It's like, I want to see the purge. Remember last night?
I think Wes was asking if he could jump in there and hit the purge. Oh, yeah. We have Top Gun music playing here at the track, and we've got a Top Gun extra, it looks like.
That's the catapult launcher. I hope neither of these cars take flight. Rudolph left. Currently qualified 30th. Keith Haney right. Needs to pick up 2 thousandths of a second to bump his way in. And won't do it. 3.728 at 204 miles per hour. And again, that car was slow from the 60 foot. Just 963 down low for Keith Haney. And that Nitrous car will have to come back up in the final session. Not in the field. For Rudolph, a 3.673 is 6 thousandths of a second slower than his best run of the weekend. But Jeff Rudolph will go into the final session in the show no matter what happens from this point forward. As Bob Glenn and Ray Matos are the next pair to come up, and Raymond Matos got bumped out in this session. Has a 3.669 to his name, but on speed, not in the show. Puerto Rican. Flies the flag of his home country.
Yep, great shot there from the Flo drone. I think we coined that last night, the Flo drone. Getting a good shot at that car with the flag.
Was
as
that
he backs
not
up there.
previously coined?
Yeah, I think so. I think I went ahead and filed for the paperwork and everything.
Boy, if I coined that, I need to call my trademark attorney.
Yeah, if that's cool with you guys.
Got to get on top of that. Bob Glenn, that's the only Roots charged car.
It is.
Here this weekend, currently qualified in the 29th spot. I got to tell you, when Bob Glenn went 3.666, Mike, I thought to myself, great, Roots car is going to be in the show.
Not so sure now.
3 thou off the bump at this point.
Yeah, but hey, great performance out of that Roots blown combination.
Raymond Matos started this session with an opportunity to race on Sunday. As of now, has had that opportunity taken away. Here's his chance to reclaim his spot in the field for the 5th annual Drag Illustrated World Series of Pro Mod, presented by JHG and J&A Services.
Matos has been someone that's on our radar actually last year, and we've been keeping up with him and love to have the variety, the international flair here, so really a no-brainer invitation to this year's edition of the World Series of Pro Mod.
Pro-charged machine for Matos on the TascaParts.com side of the track. That's the right lane. Bob Glenn, the only Roots supercharger on the FTI side. Look at him carry the front end and have to get out of it in the Mustang. And here's Matos. Couldn't get there. 377 at 201 miles per hour. Boy, those numbers don't really add up. He's 943 to 60 feet. It's on a decent run there. 201 miles per hour has some speed, but not all of it.
Kind of laid over on the top end.
377, yep.
I don't know if you heard it. Laid over on the top end there, down on speed, but good numbers early.
Let's watch this again and watch Bob Glenn's Mustang. Everything had the front end up, and Bob Glenn decided, I'm good. For Matos, no puff of smoke or anything, just a run that didn't totally hold together. Look at Joel Winsley with the 575-foot burnout.
He must have thought we had the burnout contest like we used to have at the World Series of Pro Mod in Denver, which was a cool thing. We need to talk about bringing that back. Nothing wrong with a huge, long burnout. That's something that Pro Modified was really built on. These guys putting on a show, doing huge burnouts, so good to see that out of that car.
Joel Winsley out of Brooklyn, Michigan. Black Camaro coming into your living room. Liberty gears on the side of that Pro Charged machine. And Scott Lang Pro-Line power, also Pro-Charged, also a Camaro. These two cars have both run 366, their best showing in qualifying. They're good for 26th and 28th on the run sheet right now.
Scott Lang is really someone that came on strong at the end of last year in PDRA Pro Boost, event winner. All the best parts and pieces and tuning available, former Randy Weatherford machine.
Anybody important hanging out with him this weekend?
Could be. I got word from Scott. We may see someone over there.
Is he standing behind the car?
Yes. Yep.
.367.1, 204 miles per hour, and the aforementioned famous person that we're talking about is Keenan Allen, the Los Angeles Chargers All-Pro, Pro Bowl wide receiver who owns that race car, is on the property this weekend, and he was fired up with that run for Scott Lang. 367.1 is one of the best runs we've seen this session.
Hey, it's good to see Keenan out here. Keenan Allen, North Carolina guy, actually hangs out Piedmont Dragway, some of the big dog races. Great to see him out here watching his machine go down through there in 367. And what, honestly, one of the best and most consistent fantasy football picks you can make at wide receiver.
No kidding.
The man is a PPR legend.
No kidding. I think he's got an opportunity to end up in the Pro Football Hall of Fame one day as well. Winsley, for the record, went 374. 207 miles per hour. Actually had big mile per hour to Winsley's car, but he was 1,003 to 60 feet, which is odd. Almost like it rocked the beams or something. The 1,003 makes no sense in a Pro Mod, but he still went 207 miles per hour. It tells me he might have rocked forward in the beams and started the clocks a hair early.
Maybe so.
So here's Todd Tutterow and Mike Bowman. And it's big dog time here at the World Series of Pro Mod. The quick fuel machine, that is Todd Tutterow. You don't earn a nickname like King Tut because people think you're cool. Todd Tutterow is one of the greatest race car drivers in the history of drag racing, let alone Pro Modified. And Mike Bowman, that Pro-Charged Chevelle out of California on the right side of the racetrack, the first man ever to hold the belt at a World Series of Pro Mod.
Mike with a great run last night, 366. I saw him in the pits, shook his hand. He says they got more in it. They're just finding their way today.
.365, Todd Tutterow, 206 miles per hour, low ET of Saturday at the World Series of Pro Mod. That is a statement run for King Tut, his best of the weekend, 365 with a 5, 206 miles per hour, picks up 0.02 of a second. Mike Bowman made a good run, 369.3, but Todd Tutterow makes a statement here in the middle of the day on Saturday.
Yeah, just like you said, Bowman picks it up, or makes another great run compared to last night. But what can you say about Todd Tutterow? The man is a legend for a reason. He had a great performance in that car. I think they probably still have maybe 20-something runs under their belt with that combination. They came down to the U.S. Street Nationals almost unproven with that car and really put on a showing. So we're seeing that again here today.
Kenny Lang and Randy Weatherford, the next pair, set to go down the track here in qualified session number 4. And here's the second Al Billis Tune Machine, the legend of Pro Mod tuning, standing with that race car. And Kenny Lang, the Canadian, Grand Point, Canada, who went all the way to the semifinals at this event a year ago.
Yeah, that was a kind of a surprise out of Kenny Lang. We haven't seen him compete too often, too regularly on the NHRA circuit. IHRA back in the day, he was always there. A real veteran that you can't count out, but it was surprising to see have that success at the World Series of Pro Mod in 2023. Randy Weatherford, another guy you can never count out. Multi-time champion in the Southeast, local quick 8 circuits. Always the best parts and pieces you can buy.
Pro Charged machine, WS Construction on the side of that car. There's the Al Billis tuned race car driven by Kenny Lang, a two-time world champion in his own right. .367's a pair, 3.678 for Weatherford, 3.677 for Kenny Lang, and those two cars basically just made the same run, Mike.
And we're really starting to see, as we get later in this session, get into these guys that are at the top of the ladder. We're seeing these ETs drop consistent performances, like you said, they're almost identical runs out of those two guys.
The weather continues to improve here at Bradenton Motorsports Park. We're down another degree from when this session started. We're also down another 50 feet on the density altitude to 1,856. Although those pesky water grains do remain pretty high. 98 now, climbing.
Welcome to Florida. Two Nitrous cars here pulling up. Marcus Butner in the left lane, tuned by Jay Cox. Always a threat. Jim Widener, he's also been a threat. PDRA Pro Nitrous here recently. A little bit of a different combination. You can see on the hood scoop there. Got a Bischoff engine. I think Eric Bischoff is back there calling the shots on this thing. Right off the trailer. Let me look at my note. I think he went a 365 in yesterday's first qualifying session. And kind of set the pace for the Nitrous cars until we saw Jim Halsey step up with that 360.
A great look.
Yeah, just a different approach to the hood scoop there. Smaller frontal area, probably a little more aerodynamic. Just trying something different with this Nitrous car.
Tony Bischoff's name on the side of that race car. Marcus Butner uses Pat Musi's horsepower on this machine. Engine Jay Cox tuning it. Wes Buck cheerleading it. These two cars currently separated by 0.02 of a second and a couple of spots on the qualifying sheet. Welcome to the World Series of Promo. Wow, Marcus Butner's car way over by the wall, and he sticks with it to go 367.8 at 204 miles per hour. That car hit the wheelie bar as hard as we've seen a Pro Mod all weekend. Hung a left, got way over by the wall, and Marcus Butner said, "I'm not lifting."
Yeah, wall to wall. This track is prepped to the nines by Wade Rich. Marcus Butner, really a good run here for the Nitrous car. Consistent. We're seeing some good consistent runs out of that car. Don't know what happened over there with Widener. Looks like he may have had engine damage.
367.8, 204. Here's another look. Watch Butner's car hit the wheelie bar and bounce the front end, make a move. For Widener, he's just out of the throttle, and you do see some smoke, and Butner's pretty far out of the traditional groove, but stuck right with it.
Yeah, I don't know if Widener hurt anything there, or it was just smoke after he was out of the throttle.
Well, here comes the man who went on a 7-round win streak when he debuted this hot rod here at Bradenton Motorsports Park. Lyle Barnett, the new main man for Scott Tidwell on the team. Steve Petty-tuned Pro Charge 69 Camaro with Steve King in the other lane. And Steve King, the Savage Machine from Strasburg, Virginia, has been one of the real, I think, surprises of the World Series of Pro Mod in a good way so far.
These guys are hitters up there in the Northeast Outlaw Pro Mod Association. Steve King, one of them for sure. 364 last night. Ended up in the 12th spot. We'll see what he can do here today. And what can you say about Lyle Barnett?
One of the best drivers in the world when it comes to suspended door car racing. U.S. Nationals champion in Pro Modified and Turbo Car a couple of years ago, when he came from the number 16 spot to win that event. Right Commercial Products, buyherplants.com. Listen, fellas, if you're like buyherplants.com, trust me. If you're a man watching this and you're married, you have a girlfriend, you got a mother-in-law, You got a grandma that you need to satisfy, just open up a browser right now. Type in buyherplants.com. Go look at it. Spend the $16. Shoot me a text and thank me later.
Yeah, if you're here at World Series of Pro Mod this weekend, you left the wife and kids at home, buyherplants.com. We'll bail you out.
Steve King really carried the front end in a 365 at only 202 miles per hour. Steve King with a statement here on Saturday afternoon. And the Salemi team's got that car loaded for bear this weekend and carried the front end out there past half track. Still goes 365. Lyle Barnett makes a good run. 367 with a 9, 203 miles per hour. I'm guessing if you asked Lyle, not very happy with that.
Yeah, probably not. We'll see what happened over there on the Steve King side. Popped the blower right at the finish line. That's why the speed was down a little bit.
Taking another look. FloRacing replay and watch Steve King's car. And this thing is hooked up. That's a fun ride if you're a Pro Modified driver. And you mentioned it, popped the blower right there. Great call, Mike. Going through the lights. See the flash out of both headers and out of the burst panel.
Didn't look too bad. We'll see what those guys, what they find when they get back to the pits. Now here's one of the best stories. Again,
Absolutely.
Chuck Parker, Cole Pez tuned machine.
And a car that's not afraid to use some RPM on the burnout.
Absolutely not.
Chuck Parker. You probably know him as Chuck 55 if you're a Street Outlaws. No Pep Kings fan.
Right, we're saying Chuck Parker. We're like, who's that? Oh, it's Chuck 55. Just not in a 55. We wish he was, though.
Look,
hey,
it would be great if he was in the 55.
Yep.
Tyler Krosno and I talked about this yesterday. Something about Chuck 69 just doesn't have the same ring. So we couldn't change his name for the weekend. You see Green and Pesz out in front of that car. His son Cole stands behind it. And you mentioned kind of just starting his journey into the world of tuning Pro Modified race cars. But I think one of the real bright young future stars of this sport when it comes to tuning and building these cars.
And there's Chuck's wife rocking the Racers Club brand. She pulls him into the beams, something that I don't know that he's ever made a pass without her standing out there in front, pulling him into the beams.
Preston Tanner's on the other side of the racetrack. You see that black Corvette come into your screen. Preston Tanner made his debut at this event last year at 23 years old. He's the youngest competitor in the history of the World Series of Pro Mod. He's also one of the best levers in the world in a Pro Modified race car.
We talked about that last night during the rival night call out. I believe that was some of the basis of Preston calling out Melanie. Game recognizes game. And two of the best drivers on the property went head-to-head last night.
Incredibly consistent race cars here. Currently separated by 4/1000ths of a second. 4/1000ths of a second puts you 5 spots apart right now in the middle of the field. Tanner's car makes a big-time move. He's out of it early, and so is Chuck. 376 and 175 miles per hour. Preston Tanner's car picked the front end up, and just about the time that he looked over at that wall and said, it's a little bit bigger than I remember here at Bradenton, Preston lifted.
It was creeping up on him fast, for sure. And I was watching him. I didn't see what happened with Chuck over there, but he was out of the throttle early.
Scott Wildgust and the Carolina Kid, Travis Harvey. Here's another look. Watch Preston Tanner, left side of your screen. It started spinning the tires with the front end in the air, and when it made a hook over towards the wall, Preston went, I've had enough of this one.
Chuck's car with the wheels way up, it was almost like it was dog tracking as it was, had the wheels up, moving straight, but the car was pointed to the left, and then when it set the front end down, a little unsettled there, he's out of the throttle early.
The Flow drone with a great aerial view. And as you look at Travis Harvey and Scott Wildgust, Smokey's Garage Machine. Unmistakable look on that race car. All the race cars that come out of the Smokies camp. The Canadian team, Scott, out of Ontario. His daughter, 17 years old, Sienna, about to make her NHRA Pro Stock debut next weekend at Gainesville. Speaking about young future stars of the sport, has she been a member of the 30 under 30 club yet, Mike?
Not yet. I mean,
No?
she's so young that when we're doing the 30 under 30, we've got so many of these people that have been in the sport for a number of years, getting closer to 30, that when someone, even though we fully expect Sienna to be on that list very soon.
I think she might make it next year.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's when you're jumping into pro stock.
Talked to Eric Latino yesterday, her car owner on the pro stock side of things, and he thinks she has a real chance to win a race this year. High praise for a rookie jumping into pro stock. Travis Harvey, the Carolina kid, that's a brand new race car for the Carolina kid over on the right side of the track. Pro line power on that Camaro. Travis Harvey can wheel him with the best. Scott Wildgust made a incredible run last night. 364, has the front end way up on that race car. Travis Harvey lifts and Wildgust 366, 207 miles per hour. Scott Wildgust has, at this point, firmly supplanted himself as a contender at the 2024 edition of the World Series of Pro Mod.
Yeah, 207 miles per hour. That thing left hard, wheels up, good numbers down low. Good run for Scott.
That is the second Culp Lumber Shelton Insurance Machine. And the man whose name adorns the side of the race car sits behind the wheel as well, Stan Shelton, with Lee White now tuning that 67 Ford Mustang. The screw charger on the right side of the racetrack. And Ken Cortuccio, Wallingford, Connecticut native, the Pro Charger, hanging off the snout of that 69 Camaro over there on the left side of the racetrack. Ken Q, who's also teamed up with the Tidwell folks here recently.
Yeah, recently announced that we got Cortuccio and Lyle Barnett, two-car team for Scott Tidwell Racing for the full NHRA Pro Mod season in 2024. Excited to see that. We talked about Ken and his team always being a threat here at Bradenton, and always when you've got Johnny Miller, Jamie Miller, the Red Hat Mafia, you see those guys. There's a look at Johnny right there. Member of the 30 under 30 this year as well. Dynamic father and son tuning duo. When you've got those guys in the team that Ken has, always a threat. Stan Shelton, when he's not behind the wheel of a pulling tractor, he's behind the wheel of one of his growing fleet of supercharged Pro Mods.
Or behind the wheel of whatever they use to transport the logs that they then grind up. Culp Lumber, impressive business, Stan Shelton has. Oh, Ken Cortuccio, look at the front end on that car up in the air. 363, 209 miles per hour. Ken Cortuccio, low ET and top speed of the day here at the World Series of Pro Mod, the second fastest non-turbocharged run, the fastest supercharged run of the weekend here at the World Series, and Ken Q skyrockets up to the number 6 spot on the qualifying ladder.
Yeah, came into the session number 11 with a 364 to the 0. What did we just say about Jamie Miller, Johnny Miller, that brain trust back there? They just made us look smart up here for once.
Stan Shelton with 367.9, 206. Really good run. Sorry, Stan. Car in the other lane. Laid him down. Speaking of laying one down. Here comes the first man in the history of the World Series of Pro Mod to dip into the 50s. He did it yesterday. Mark Mickey. The 359.8 at 220 miles per hour that took everybody's breath away with the twin turbochargers on that Pro-Line powered race car out of Jefferson City, Missouri in the right lane. And Marcus Burt, the Axeman, brand new Pro-charged Camaro in the left lane. And after struggling a little bit in the first two sessions, Marcus Burt last night stepped up in a big way with the 363.
Marcus Burt, always a threat. The Axeman came off a great weekend at Lights Out, right here to World Series of Pro Mod. And then on the other side, Mark Mickey. I don't know what you can do with this car right now. We talked about the rule packages. We evaluated how to deal with this turbo combination coming into this event so we could maintain our parity between all these different combinations. Added pretty significant weight to this turbo combination. It kind of just laughed at us and kept on trucking as he goes 359 last night. However, we do have Jim Halsey, like we talked about, Jason Harris, Spencer Hyde right behind him in the very low 60s.
What we saw last night with Vergatz in the other lane, you thought might have held Mark out a little bit with the turbo car. The thing about the turbo cars, you got to spool them up and get them in. You're either going to be rushed in late or you're going to be in early, and that allows your opponent an opportunity to maybe hang you out.
I don't think we'll see that today. No
rivals
to watch tomorrow on the line. It's all about the performance.
Remember, $10,000 to the number one qualifier this weekend. It's currently Mickey. 3:6:07, 2:21 for Mark Mickey. Fastest run of the weekend here at the World Series of Pro Mod. 221.31 miles per hour, and Mark Mickey throws up a 6.0 at 2:21. Big time run.
It's just
for
a
Mark
220
Mickey.
mile per hour bracket car right now, Jason. Nothing to it.
Marcus Burt goes 3:63.5, 2:05. Makes a hammer down run. Wasn't even in Mark Mickey's rearview mirror when they went through the lights.
And what can you say about this matchup here? Two of the biggest stars, two of the biggest badasses indoor car drag racing. Jason Scruggs, the Mississippi Missile. Stevie Jackson, again, coming off his tremendous debut with the Shadow 3.0 last weekend at Donald Long's Lights Out event. Stevie, he was on. He was either on our show, on the West Buck show, or on his own podcast. I can't remember, where he said if he plays his cards right between Lights Out and World Series of Pro Mod, he can have this new car paid for by the end of this weekend.
Well, he's 1 for 2 so far. Took home 50 big ones last week. 100 more on the line this weekend.
These are two guys that aren't afraid to go down any track, anywhere, in any car. And they want all the power all the time. Two guys that have been in some dark, dingy situations, some sketchy tracks late at night, and here they are on the biggest stage of Pro Mod, World Series of Pro Mod, Bradenton Motorsports Park.
Shadow 3.0, Motion Raceworks. Killing Time Racing. Stevie Fast Jackson, and Jason Scruggs, the Mississippi Missile. Q4 here at the World Series. Oh yeah, that's what it's supposed to look like. 365, Jason Scruggs, 366 for Stevie Fast. That would have been a heck of a race on Sunday afternoon, and I wouldn't be totally shocked if we see those two cars line up at some point deep into eliminations as well. Neither car improves, though. Jason Scruggs stays 8. Stevie Fast, number 11.
Stevie down on speed a little bit, 204.54 down compared to his speed last night and some of the speed from the other top qualifiers. Not sure what happened there. Otherwise, it looked like a good, clean, consistent run.
Mr. PDRA himself, Tommy Franklin, the Redline Oil, Franklin Electric. Nitrous powered machine out of Fredericksburg, Virginia. Man who runs the PDRA, Virginia Motorsports Park. Tyler Crossno and the team down there that he entrusts to handle that facility and that series. And Tommy Franklin, the reigning Pro Nitrous champion in that series. Eric Gustafson, meanwhile, Vernon, California, the other lard wagon. Coast Packing Company, PTP, the Pro Charged machine. Gustafson, your number 7 qualifiers, they sit right now 1/1000th of a second ahead of Tommy Franklin, but 2 spots, because why not?
Because why? It's a World Series of Pro Mod. That's how we do it here. Incredibly tight field, as always. We talked about Nitrous cars taking advantage of this these atmospheric conditions. These Tommy Franklin, and then one of the next Nitrous cars, if I look back here in the pairs, Jim Halsey coming up here soon. We'll see what these guys can do. Like you said, air continues to improve. I think the cloud cover continues to build a little bit more. Eric Gustafson in this car. This white Coast Packing Camaro was all over our promos for this event because this car performed so well here last year. Always a threat. We'll see what he can do.
Tommy Franklin's wife, Judy, stands in front of that machine. Gives him the all clear. One last pop of the button to purge the nitrous bottles. And Tommy Franklin's ready. Tommy Franklin with a half-track wheel stand and a 366, and Gustafson goes 363 with a 206 miles per hour, 1/1000th of a second off his quick time of the weekend. But Eric Gustafson with a 3.634, another ultra impressive run here in the middle of the day at Bradenton.
Yeah, those guys look happy there with that run from Gustafson. Another good consistent pass. Lots of wheel speed early for Tommy Franklin. They hit the wheelie bars hard, had the wheels up.
As we get ready for another rematch. Round 3.
Yeah,
Here's another look at that last pass. Watch Tommy Franklin's green and black machine. Start to lift the front end up and sachet. When it came back down, he did a nice job straightening it back out. Tommy Franklin, a veteran of the sport, a champion for a reason. Keeps it nice and straight, and here comes Kurt Stedding and Spencer Hyde, round 3.
Yes.
The finals at the World Series of Pro Mod a year ago when the Jack and the Green stock machine, that Camaro out of Stratford, Ontario, Canada, on the right side of the racetrack, took home the $100,000 prize here at the World Series of Pro Mod by knocking off Kurt Stedding. His P2 Contractors, Tie Drive, Lyle Motorsports, Tutaro tuned race car. This is a new car for Kurt Stedding. They came back for Rivals Night last night, and Kurt Stedding got his revenge on a whole shot.
He did. We were fortunate to get that matchup again last night for Rivals Night, and just so happens we got it again today. These guys may get sick of looking out of their side windows and seeing each other, but we're here for it. We'll line these guys up side by side as much as we can make it happen.
Wonder if they've bet on this one, because last night they put a friendly 500 on it, and Kurt was able to take it home. I know he went back over to rub it in a little bit to Spencer, which Spencer's dad reminded him, I'm still up 99,500 on you. 365 Kurt Stedding, 367 Spencer Hyde. And I tell you what, if that was a race, Mike Carpenter, at the stripe, 7/10,000ths of a second that Kurt Stedding got there first with an 040 reaction time. Spencer climbed up on the wheel. He was 25 on the tree, goes 367, 206 miles per hour. We talked about it last year. Spencer Hyde won this race with his thumb, not with the power plant under that race car.
Exactly.
Car ran good, but it was the reaction times that won him the World Series of Pro Mod. He's 25 on the tree here in qualifying.
And that's why we said we'll line those two guys up together as much as we possibly can, because every time they're paired up, we get something just like that.
7/10,000ths of a second at the stripe between Stedding and Hyde. It's party time.
Yep, here we go. Party time on the left side. Jim Halsey and his brand new machine over there on the right side. Halsey with a 360 with a 9 last night, set the pace for the Nitrous cars. Like, again, we can't say it enough. Turbo, Nitrous, Pro Charger, Screw Blown in the top 4. We'll see what Halsey can do to represent for the Nitrous contingent here again today.
Final pair in Q4 here for Pro Modified. Jason Harris, the Pro Charged machine. Party time, Pro Boost champ, and Jim Halsey, Daddy Shark.
Fun fact, Jason Harris cut his teeth and was a Nitrous racer for so long before switching to Pro Charger. In fact, in I believe it was 2014, he went undefeated, won every PDRA Pro Nitrous race in that season on his way to the championship. Since then, Jim Halsey has gone on 4 consecutive PDRA Pro Nitrous championships, up until last year when Tommy Franklin claimed his second and stopped the run of Daddy Shark.
Halsey, who operates Cecil County Dragway up in Maryland. And Jason Harris, Pittsburgh, North Carolina, Southern Diamond Company. 2 and 3 qualifiers. Halsey's car dances around. He lifts early in a 365, 204 for party time. Jason Harris, 3.654, 204 miles per hour. Jim Halsey had the laundry out early when that car started dancing around about 300 feet out there. And that's going to do it for round number 4 of Pro Modified here at the Drag Illustrated World Series of Pro Mod. Mark Mickey remains on top and in control of that $10,000 of that custom Victus Sports bat, and of having the honor of finding out who races first.
Yeah, that chip draw tonight is going to be primetime entertainment, man. We're setting that up. After qualifying's over, we're going to bring these guys up and draw the chips. It'll be a special presentation here on FloRacing. Some of the drama and excitement that leads up to that, and these guys finding out who they're going to race is among the highlights of the event.
No question about it. And here we go. With the no-time grudge match we've been waiting for. Lutz was able to get that thing fixed up.
Yeah, it looks like he was. Wasn't able to pair up with Lizzie last night. We've got both of them on track today. Lutz versus Musi. Lizzie with the old school long smoky burnout. She probably learned from watching her legendary father, Pat Musi, do that hundreds of times in his pro street days. You know, 69 Camaro.
All that Pat Musi nitrous power.
We'll see what Lutz has got here. This will be his first official hit at the track here. Lizzie made several yesterday and looked really strong as they prepare for their Street Outlaws No Prep Kings season, which the schedule for that was just unveiled. And they'll be touring around the country all year, but starting out here this season at Bradenton Motorsports Park with a special match race with Jeff Lutz.
It's a best of 3 between Jeff Lutz in the right lane, Turbo Machine, Lizzie Musi in the left lane, the Nitrous Machine, 8th Mile Racing, no time. Great just to have Lizzie Musi back behind the wheel of a race car. Very public. Ongoing battle with cancer. Lizzie and Lutz, round 1. Here we go. Look at Lizzie Musi pull away, and on the top end of the racetrack, round 1 goes to Lizzie. The Nitrous car gets there first, driving away from Lutz. Left first, got there first. Round 1 to Lizzie.
Yeah, with that data they got yesterday, they definitely had the advantage going into this round in that left lane. Jeff Lutz still ironing out the kinks, but we'll see when they come back later tonight for round 2.
Looking forward to it. El Bandito Yankee Tequila Mustang is going to come up here. They're doing racer programs all weekend, right? They're taking VIPs out and letting them race and fans.
Yeah, this is a really cool deal with El Bandito. Great partners of ours at Drag Illustrated with the World Series of Pro Mod. And the entire Drag Illustrated team actually got to jump in these things and race down the track today. For some of our team members that don't make it out to the track as much, it was some of the first times down the racetrack. We had a lot of fun this morning, so big shout out to El Bandito for letting us run the. Oh, and this guy right here, he's going down through there.
Don't think he knew he had to do a burnout.
Yeah, got to come back, got to take that tree, buddy.
This is the Tampa Bay Race Rental Machines. Flying Ryan Ayler, the NHRA Pro Stock motorcycle star, owns this business. If you've ever been interested in putting a group of friends together and coming out to the track and finding out who's actually the best drag racer, it's a great way to do it. Come out and rent these race cars from Ryan. They'll put together a whole program for you with qualifying and racing. Really, really fun operation they have. You see Flying Ryan out there trying to get them lined up. All right, so you guys raced this morning. Who won?
I thought we weren't going to talk about that, Jason, because actually me and Wes Buck lined up, and I beat it by 2 tenths. in performance, lost on a hole shot. So, I don't want to talk about it too much. It was a rough morning. Wasn't fully awake, I don't think.
You lost on a 2/10 plus hole shot, Mike?
Yeah.
Tell your dad?
Well, I did just now, I guess. Told the whole world on FloRacing.
Charles is sitting there going, I taught you better, son. Who JT race?
JT raced, he may have raced Brett Underwood, our director of sales. I think Brett smoked him.
I feel like Brett would be there.
Yeah, Brett takes no prisoners.
Yeah, no question. Mike, thanks for joining us here for Pro Mod. We'll see you back for Q5.
Sounds good, Jason. Thanks for having me up here,
It's
man.
going to be exciting. Pro Stock, mountain motor style. Qualifying session number 4 is coming your way next.
Winning doesn't just happen. You have to engineer it. You have to test it and make it better than it was the last time. Our engineers have the passion to create the parts you need, the way you need them to be, again and again and again. We've led this game for over 40 years, and we design, refine, and perfect every valve train part worthy of the winner's circle.
Unleash your engine with Adrenaline Racing Oils, 100% PAO-based oil. The Adrenaline R Series is designed to unlock extra horsepower. Free up your engine to perform its best. Top-performing oils with FR3 nanocarbon technology. The same friction reducer used by top racers. Designed for any engine. Lab-formulated, dyno-tested, track-proven. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
We drive tech. We drive the industry. Going beyond the limits and advancing forward. A versatile all-in-one solution. We're here for you every step of the way. And that's why you see Fuel Tech everywhere.
Mountain Motor Pro Stock Q4 coming your way next as we welcome you back here to the Drag Illustrated World Series of Pro Mod. I'm Jason Galvin, and Courtney Enders been running around the pits and hanging out on the top end for us. She is with Kevin Ryenbark, who's had quite the roller coaster of emotions here this weekend.
Some drama going on the sheet here. Melanie Salemi bumps you out. You bump her back in by speed. I know you expected this kind of drama.
Oh, yeah. You'd imagine if we're going to hear about it or not. So, yeah, I heard that when I was on the bump spot before we ever ran, and then I heard her go down and, get in. I said, well, dang, we just got bumped out. So, and then you just tell me I got bumped back in. So, I'll take it.
We got a lot more racing going on here, though. So, you guys, we're going into this. Weather's going to be looking decent, I think. How do you go into this last session?
No layup. You got to go for it. So, I mean, we really want to run a 63, 62, somewhere in that area. And we're capable of doing it. We just keep missing it somewhere. So, we'll get it, though.
Everybody kept saying A to B. Got to get you a show. I don't think A to B is going to be enough today.
No, it's not. You got, like I said, you can't lay up. You got to go for it.
All right, go get it, River Snake.
Kevin Ryenbark, one of the real quality drivers in the field here this weekend, of which, well, it's about 60 plus of them at the World Series of Pro Mod. It's why this is the biggest, richest, wildest Pro Mod race in the world. It's why everybody wants to win it. That's why Spencer Hyde became a star when he did that last year. There's a look at Lutz and Musi going back to her pit area. Great run for that team. She has been a fan favorite here this weekend at the World Series of Pro Mod, pitted right up by the water boxes. Her and Lutz both. T-shirt trailers out on display and signing autographs. Speaking of stars of the sport, Todd Tutterow made quite a move up the ladder with his run in qualifying session number 4, and Don O'Neill caught up with him.
Todd Tutterow, you're the man of the round right now. We're getting into everybody in the top half of the field. 65.5.
That's pretty good, pretty good. Very pleased. We found a little strut thing from last night. Didn't even get a chance to fix it, so hopefully get it fixed for the next round.
All right, so you've been doing this long enough. You and your son, he reads the racetrack, everything. You looked at the weather. It's sticky right now a little bit. Is that the best that's out there right now, or you think there's more?
I'm sure somebody will come out here and run a little faster than that, but like I said, we're working on a race day tune-up now. Should be in. Tomorrow's like this, watch out.
I like that. Stick around, folks. Q5 will be up tonight. Wonder if he'll go lower.
Well, I know he's going to try. That's for sure. Interesting to hear Todd talk about finding an issue with the strut on the car